There's a lot of things in the world that you can't change because it's not about your point of attraction, but it is about someone's point of attraction. And as you relax into knowing that, it's really helpful. So what happens to most people is that most people find the what is reality, the see it, hear it, smell it, taste it, touch it, what you call real life reality. You find it so compelling that most of your vibrational offering is in response to what you are observing. So sometimes some of you make a decision to come into a physical body with a strong determination to not be so easily adjusted by other mortals, to not be so easy to be contoured into their specific idea of how someone who lives here should be. They just be outside of that. Sometimes they are autistic, sometimes they're gay, where the majority would prefer it to be otherwise, but the majority doesn't get to decide. Every consciousness coming forth is making those decisions and never ever in error. So those who have the good fortune really of getting to be up close and personal with that, as it helps you with this one understanding, your point of attraction is your point of attraction, and you get to choose it. And I, of course, am going to observe it. But here's the question. Am I going to observe it from my human standpoint, who sort of tends to think that we should just get everybody to be just alike and then we'd all be happier on this planet if we could get everybody to just agree with everything? This is the way we live, this is the way we walk, this is the way we dress, this is who we love, this is what we do, this is how much we earn, this is what we do or don't do. And if we could just get some rules out there that everybody agrees with, all expansion would cease. It would be so boring. In other words, you think you want that, but you really don't. So sometimes those come forth that prove that point to you. You can experience me and observe me from your human standpoint, which is wanting to change me so that you'll feel better, or from your non-physical standpoint, which is to understand that here I am and my differences are choices that I have made. And in allowing yourself resonance with your inner being, a much, much, much further understanding, not just of life around that, but a life around everything. There is only now. Ta-da. There is only now. And so we suggest you do it now, because now is when your inner being is loving them. You see, here's something that sometimes you don't know. We really want to remind you of this. As you are conscious in a moment in time and space, as you're conscious here, your inner being is right there with you in the moment, with the stuff and the thoughts and the desires. In other words, your inner being is there with your inner being's perspective on it. And how you feel is how you know how blended your perspective is or not blended your perspective is. So if you're looking at a situation like this needs to be changed and I don't know what to do, you're going to feel lost and vulnerable and empty because your inner being doesn't feel like that. But when you just love, well, that's what your inner being does. Love and appreciate and anticipate and knows value and applauds decisions and honors intentions, and most of all knows the value of diversity. It isn't easy, even when you have strong decisions coming in, to hold yourself in that vibrational alignment with inner being when there are so many humans who are observing you. Because when you walk into a room as that bag of marbles that we talked about, and there are a bunch of other people in that room, their attention to you doesn't go unnoticed by you. And so it's easy under all conditions to calibrate to what others around you think. It's just less easy for those strong determination to be influenced away from what they really know. It takes a lot of people trying to change them or people worrying about them. And really the most important thing that we want you to hear is that whatever you choose to do or not do, we want it to be because you care about your calibration to your source, not because you're trying to be the law of attraction for somebody else. That's the thing that is so interesting. Most humans, Esther has a dear, dear friend who's a comedian, funny girl, pink hair, on a cruise ship. That's how Esther met her. And she talks to Esther frequently when she gets back from a cruise. And she's explaining to Esther, oh, this was a rough cruise. Esther said, oh, she said, yeah. The stage manager didn't have a clue what he was doing. He was the worst stage manager ever. And Esther said, yeah. And her friend said, but I stepped up. And Esther said, how'd it go? And she said, it was terrible. Terrible. He didn't want me butting in. He didn't believe in anything that I had to say. He wouldn't take my advice about anything. It just made it so much worse. And so Esther's reflecting with us about that later. And we said, you're not the stage manager. He's the stage manager. And then we took it further. You're also not the law of attraction. You are consciousness walking into the field of law of attraction. But you're not going to adjust how the law of attraction responds to anything, only by submitting yourself to the law of attraction, deliberately feeling your way to your strongest calibration with your inner being, and therefore to your most satisfying attraction. We like to say this to you. We like to say this to you so much. We want you to hear this. Your inner being in every moment in time knows where you are in your physicality, all your wants and dreams and hopes and desires and observations, memories. Your inner being knows where you are in relationship to everything that's in your vortex, and knows what your path of least resistance is for you to resonate with that, for you to calibrate to that. So your inner being is always calling you toward what's the most likely thing that you're in the vicinity of that you can hear. So often you say, just tell me and I'll go. Esther said that. Just give me the answer. I'll just do it. Well, we're giving you the answer, but you can't hear it. So you think we're taking you on a wild goose chase, but the wild goose knows where you want to go. So sometimes you got to follow the wild goose and you'll end up right where you wanted to be. And you say, not fast enough. And we say, therein lies part of your problem. The wild goose will take you on an adventure and on lots of fun and where it's more beautiful. And if it matters to you, faster. But sometimes what you call faster is not your path of least resistance, because you've got things that you've learned along your way about how things should be. Care about how you feel, and then pay attention. If you catch it in the earlier stages, it's easier for you to find the path of least resistance. Here's a game we've been encouraging recently. Speaking of how your inner being knows what your path of least resistance is, this applies to this. Remember we said earlier that most of you are offering most of your vibrational offering in response to what you're observing. So as you're standing in an attitude of wanting to calibrate, and since you are sort of practiced observers, then decide to look for existing matches, meaning matches that feel good. Existing matches. Matches to what? Matches to your inner being. Look for existing matches in your what you're observing. Easy matches. Look for easy existing matches. And if you catch it early, before you've gone too far down the trail where law of attraction is filling your mind with all kinds of things that match where you really don't want to be, if you catch it early, those existing matches will loosen you up, and then your inner being offers you another idea and another idea. So much of what you think are the ideas that you are thinking are ideas that you're interpreting because they are ideas that your inner being is thinking. You can't tell who thought the thought, and it doesn't matter who thought the thought. And the best thing in the whole world is to be so blended with your inner being that you're thinking thoughts together. Asking, answering, asking, answering, asking, answering, asking, answering, asking, answering. That's just the best dynamic in the world. A lot of you are doing that. You just don't know it, or you don't want to give yourself credit to it. You want to be humble and separate. You don't want to be humble and separate. You want to be connected and clear-minded and the lover that you are born to be. That's a tricky thing unless you understand that there's a whole lot to observe. We have called that from the beginning of Flowing Through Esther, that whether you're looking at the past or the present or the future, imagine into the future, be the best selective sifter that you can. Selectively sift what feels good if you're looking past, what feels good if you're looking now, what feels best as you're anticipating forward. Pay attention to how you feel, and if it feels better to look in the rearview mirror for a minute, do it. Remember those early days with that sweet one? Look there. That's when that one was more stable in the decision made to be here. Look there and remember what that felt like. The certainty of it. The certainty of it. There was no confusion in your mind, not until other people started worrying you or giving you thoughts that felt worrisome when you joined them. We want so much to say this in a way that you can hear it. It is not difficult to feel good. You just gotta wanna. You just gotta wanna. And then you gotta practice feeling good rather than playing to the crowd. There's a lot of what is-ism going on in this world. That is the thing, and that's why this conversation is so good here today. That is the thing. Awareness of what is the thing that stands in the way of you living the life that you want. Because when you play to the crowd, oh, they want so many different things from you. You know, some of them want you to suffer. Some of them expect you to suffer. Some of them feel competitive with you, and you don't want to thrive too much. It upsets them. In other words, you can't calibrate to humans. You can appreciate them and love them and co-create with them, but you want to calibrate to your vortex. When you match in my body, in my now, when I match what's in the vortex where my inner being is, now my body and my now are blended and a perfect match to what's in the vortex where my inner being is, and then that must be my manifested experience. It is law. Has to be. That's all there is to it. That's all there is to it. So that's why this existing matches to what? How my inner being sees whatever I'm looking at. And if when I look at it I don't feel good, change the subject, because that's too much work for now. And if I pick something else and it doesn't feel good, get off of that too. But we promise you there are existing matches where you and your inner being are just like this. It's like savoring it with your inner being. It's not hard to feel good, but it does take focus. We're asking you to find existing matches to what's in the vortex. That's how you have what you want. That's how it comes. You're brilliant. You understood that. You've been coming along in this leading edge conversation today in a remarkable flow. We are exhilarated about what has happened here. And we're eager about your realization of what happened here. You shifted. Your point of attraction is different. Connect the dots, connect the dots, connect the dots, connect the dots, connect the dots. There is great love here for you. And for now, we are complete. Really good. Thank you.